Tottenham Hotspur. This is a team which will on their day defeat 2002 Prime Brazil team, and on the day they will lose to Santa Monica. This is Tottenham Hotspur. They are the most unpredictable team in the entire Premier League. You can expect anything from them. They have defeated Manchester City at Etihad. Everybody after the first match against Wolves expected City to have a boom in the Premier League like they had 1 or 2 seasons before. But this time, Tottenham Hotspur, with Thomas Frank's tactical masterpiece, they have defeated Manchester City 2-0. It could have been more, but some of the players on the pitch were not at their best. Let me talk about that later. But first, we have to talk about how did that happen. Manchester City had more possession. They had better passing accuracy. They had everything better. Just the goals, it was 2-0. And eventually, what really matters is goals. You don't want possession to be more, and then eventually on the score sheet, you don't score. That isn't what matters. It's how much you score. And for me now, from the last 2 seasons, Pep Guardiola's tactical, analysis is being violated. It is being absolutely exploited by every single Premier League team because now he has been there for 10 years. They know what he can do, what he does with his team. If you talk about the starting lineup of Manchester City, it was a bit controversial. There was no Ederson, it was Trafford, who they brought from Burnley. This goalkeeper, he came from Championship to Premier League. So obviously, there is a different, obviously I don't need to talk about a huge difference from Championship to Premier League. I think this difference caught him up and he got into a lot of... Against Wolves, there was no pressure. Again, Wolves isn't at their best. They lost their best players. So Wolves isn't a team you really, can count yourself on. It was Spurs. They have a good team. He was under a lot of pressure from minute 1. He gave away a goal. He gave away 2 big chances to Spurs, which they missed, but they could have resulted in goal. So James Trafford for Manchester City was bad today. Another player who was bad was Ruben Dias in defense. Another player who was bad was Bob. Bob was good, but Haaland. You tell me one big game where Haaland has performed. Tell me one goal he has scored in a final. They have played numerous FA Cup finals from a Haaland era. They played a Champions League final. They played 2 FA Cup finals. They played a Carabao Cup final. They played everything. Tell me one game where Haaland in a big match, in a match where there was a trophy on the line, where there was the Premier League on the line, he scored or he did something good. Never ever. He didn't. He has scored less goals against Liverpool, less goals against Spurs, Chelsea, big teams. He's a brilliant striker, but he disappears in big matches. That is what happens with Erling Haaland. That's what happened today. He literally had 1 shot on target, and that is horrible from a striker of his range. He is tall, he is brutal, he could have made runs behind the defender, but what he does is that he remains deep behind the defender. That really allows him to, go forward and do a bit defensive work, go into the midfield. That does allow him to do that, okay? Now, in case who was positive for Manchester City, I think it was Ryan Cherki. The time he played, he looked good. Marmoush looked pretty good. So the 2 new signs looked pretty. Reinders was not good today. He was brilliant against Wolves, but today he was not there. In case of Spurs, not all the players on the pitch were great for them. If all 11 players were great for them, I think they could have scored 3 or 4 more goals. And 100% they could have finished 3 or 4. I think Mohamed Kudus was brilliant. He looked sharp. He made runs behind the defender on that wide flank. I think Brennan Johnson was a bit under the shadow today. He did score the goal, but without that, I think he missed 1 or 2 chances. And I think Richarlison was brilliant today. I think he was good today. And in defense, Pedro Porro, Romero, you always count on them. They are brilliant defenders, and they have shown it today how they brilliantly defended against a big team, against Manchester City. Now, going forward into the league, Manchester City will have problems because they don't know what their starting lineup should be. Will they pick Ake over Aït-Nouri? That's number 1. Will they pick Trafford over Ederson? What about Rodri? Does he fit in? What about Foden? Because Foden doesn't get enough game time. He was brought in 75th minute for Bob. So I think Foden doesn't get enough game time. If he gets that game time, maybe he will perform for them, but he doesn't get that game time. So they have to figure their starting lineup, their fixed starting lineup, and their substitute, which will come in at some point of the game. But first, they have to decide their starting lineup, which I don't think is right now consistent for them. Like if Spurs has, and let me tell you, Spurs doesn't have their 2 big players, which is Maddison and Kulusevski, 2 of the biggest players in Spurs. They were not playing; they were injured. So in case of Spurs, positive signs. They defeated Manchester City, but Manchester City right now is in crossroads because you lost your first game at home. Now here you will take on. It depends on Pep Guardiola how he motivates his players to go on forward. Either he can chap them on with the negatives, or either he can take on the positive and move forward along the league. That's what he has to, because he has to play European football. He has to play Champions League. He has to play cup games. So it's going to be a very hard schedule for Manchester City. In case of Spurs, they have to play Champions League football. But I think it's more of, because you obviously know Spurs Champions League, they won't give their 100% to the Champions League because it's difficult. But in case of Manchester City, they will give 100% to the European football as well as cup football. So it is now depend on how Pep Guardiola does it. But yeah, again, he's a brilliant manager. We don't need to say anything about him. But going forward to the league, if Manchester City doesn't win games, maybe you'll be sad. Who knows? This is a ridiculous statement, but maybe you'll get sacked if they play like this, because last season was horrible for them. It was third, but horrible for a team like Manchester City, who spent a lot of money. This season they spent a lot of money signing Reinders, Cherky, and a lot of players. So I think in case of Manchester City, they will have to come back. But obviously, in case of Pep Guardiola, he will have to create something new. Now, pass the ball, take the ball, but not again possession-based play in Premier League right now. It isn't working for Pep Guardiola. It didn't work last season. It won't work this season. They have to bring up a new tactical self-belief in them before every game. They have to bring up a plan against every team, against every single starting man in the opposite team. That's what they have to do. That's what they can do in case of Manchester City.